All right, guys, welcome back. Welcome back. Just waiting on that connection to go through, and then we'll get started here. Making sure that connection's good, the audio's good. Should be good here. Should be good. Guys, drop a comment in the chat if you can hear okay. We're going to get started. Here we go. All right. All right, we should be good to go. All right, let me just go ahead and get my iPad set up so I can look at the comments here perfectly. Perfect. All right, guys, welcome back to another live stream. So today what we're going to be doing... All right, so today what we're going to be doing is we're going to work on a mech shader. We're also going to work on just modeling these gears because I thought this was really, really cool here. So the other day I was just kind of searching around online for cool things to model. I found these gears. I thought they were super cool, so I modeled them in Blender. You can see I have them right here. And then I was like, okay, trying to make a metal shader, which I thought was also going to be a cool idea. It didn't really work out the way I wanted it to. So instead I said, you know what? Let's go ahead and make our own fun, like, almost this transparent kind of glossy material. I'm calling it like a mech shader. I just think it looks cool. So we're going to be kind of creating that as well. I'll go through kind of the steps of how I did all this. It's not too difficult. The modeling's probably a little more difficult than the shading, but the shading is more like experimental. So yeah, we're going to kind of go over how we did this, or how I did this. This is a really fun one. I also set up this really nice like floor material, and then I added these kind of like boxes around. You can see these are the boxes right here. I added these boxes around the actual gears themselves. I thought that looked kind of cool. We don't have to do that. That's totally optional, but either way, we're going to go ahead and hop right into it. First thing we're going to do is actually model these gears, and then we'll kind of set up our shader and kind of see what we can do with that. How's everybody doing today? Good? Awesome. All right, so let's do this. So the first thing I'm going to do is open up a brand new document here, and I'll probably have to jump back into that other one to check on those shader nodes. But the first thing you want to do is go up to Edit, Preferences, and just make sure you have. Make sure I have it on here. Not gears, mesh, extra objects. Make sure you have that enabled. That way you can get all of the extra objects they're going to be working with. I'm going to go ahead and click on Add, and I'll go ahead and add in a mesh, and I'll search for gears. I'll just click on gear. Now we have our gear right here. Now before you click away, you got to click on this little drop down over here. Just move my face up here. So in this drop down, this is where we have to decide the number of teeth. We also have to decide the radius of the gear itself and other factors that are going to affect our gear. So before we click away, we need to decide these things so that they're accurate, right? So if we look over here, I'm going to actually count with you guys the amount of teeth so we can try to get as close as possible. So I'm going to start up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 total. So I'll go up here and number of teeth. I'll type in 24. Also, pro tip, do not click enter or it'll escape out of this window. The next thing that we're going to do is we are going to take a look at that radius. I think it's about right. I feel like that looks pretty good. I'll take that. The base is like this inner part right here. So I'm going to go ahead and stretch that in just about that size. This part here is kind of like how far in the whole thing sticks. So I think I'll do right about there. Looks pretty good to me. And then let's see, next part is the pressure angle. We don't really need to do anything with that. Now here's the important part, the skewness. So we're going to basically duplicate this with sort of a mirror modifier. So I am going to give it some slight skew. Probably about 11 degrees looks good. I'm not sure what the actual degree amount is, but that should work for our purposes. And then we also have the conical angle. I haven't really noticed that really does anything. And then this right here, you want to keep this at 0. That's the crown. We're not going to be doing anything with that. And that's really it for that part. So now we have our gear, and now it's a matter of duplicating it to the other side with a mirror modifier, and then there's a few things we're going to adjust. So here's what I'm going to show you first. First thing, we're going to go right into edit mode, go to our edge select mode. I'm going to select the top edge and the bottom edge. I'm going to go up here to edge, and then I'm going to do bridge edge loops. So that gives us kind of like that inner part right there. And then I'm going to highlight just the bottom edge loop and click F to fill that in. I'm going to give it a few insets here. Just something like that so we have some geometry to work with. And this is starting to look pretty good. So I'm pretty happy with this so far. Next thing I'm going to do is go over to my modifiers. I'm also going to give this a quick save. I'll just call it gear.blend. Perfect. I'm going to go to my modifiers and add a bevel modifier. And then we're going to kind of adjust this to a smaller amount. Increase the amount here of subdivisions. Let's see. Let's do 0.005. Perfect. I feel like that looks pretty good. You can also click Shade Auto Smooth. That's going to make it look a lot nicer. Now, if you're getting like weird artifacts on the bottom, you can go back into edit mode and add a loop cut there, and that might help a little bit. Perfect. Okay, next thing we want to do is we want to add a mirror modifier. Okay, now right away you're going to say, oh wait, that looks horrible, right? Well, we need to actually define where it's mirroring across. So I'll add in an empty plane axis. I will target that empty, and I'll only choose the Z option here. And then we'll just go ahead and move our gear up. And you can see as we move it up, now we have that bottom one right there. So we kind of have our design that we're looking for. We just need to adjust the Z axis until we get exactly what we're looking for here. Now the key part here to make this look like it's one cohesive piece is that we want to go ahead and, well, I'll bevel this after that. For the mirror, you want to go ahead and merge them. So I like to set it to, I don't know, 0.02 maybe. Let's try that. That looks pretty good. And then we have our bevel. Make sure our bevel's in place. It is. Again, quick save. Now we kind of have one of these pieces. Now it might not be perfect, but it's pretty good for like what I'm looking for, so I'm pretty happy with this so far. This makes your brain go. That's great. Hi there. Hi, how are you doing? So far, so good. Just wanted to pop in real quick and say thank you for all the wonderful Blender stuff. No problem. I'm so glad you guys are enjoying it. Awesome. All right, so next thing I'm going to do, there's a few other things I'm going to do here. Let me take a look at the design of this thing. So I'm not going to do this completely accurately. If you wanted to, you could add a cylinder on the bottom to fill that other side. I actually don't mind like just the way that we have this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on this and I'm going to convert it to a mesh. All right, so now we just have just the mesh. I'm going to add in a cylinder. I'm going to add a bunch of vertices to that so it's nice and smooth. I'm going to scale it down, go to my X-ray mode, scale it down, move it up, something like that. That looks good. I'm going to scale it out so it's just barely inside of this thing here. Perfect. And I want it to kind of meet the edge there. That looks good. I'm going to add a bevel. I'm also going to apply my scale, object apply scale, so that our bevel doesn't get all broken there. I'll add in a few segments. I remember I said I wasn't going to do this, but I'm doing it anyway. So that's the one side filled, and then the other side's not. So if you really look at this object, one side's filled, one side's not. Another thing you really could do if you wanted to is you could cut that inner part out there. Like you could go here, or upside down, but this will still work. Like you could take these faces here. Let's see. Bring them up. Now you kind of have that concave part there. Kind of hard to see. Why can't? Oh, because it's shaded smooth. There you go. You can see a little bit better there. So now you kind of have that concave part. It's funny how we set up these loops earlier and they actually just happen to work out really nicely. All right, auto smooth seems to be the way to go. That looks good. Perfect. Okay, so we have our thing set up. Now let's go ahead and take all of this and let's join it. We don't need our empty anymore. Let's right click, join, and then we're gonna do RX90 to flip it. All right, and then we're gonna need two of these gears. So here's the fun part. We have to flip them so that they interact correctly together. So Shift D, I guess we can get out of this now. Shift D and X. All right, now you'll notice right now they wouldn't actually be able to lock together. So we need to flip this one entirely. RZ 180. All right, and then realign it here. GY to move it on the Y axis. Try to get it as close as possible. And then from our side view, we'll take one of these and just rotate it so that these are interlocked properly. That looks pretty good. And this is actually how the gear would function, like if these were to rotate. And you know what, we probably can make them rotate later, but we're gonna focus more on the actual like material side of things next. So this is where we're gonna actually build out our material. So let me go ahead and move this. I feel like moving this over there is pretty good. Perfect. All right, here's what we're gonna do. So we have our gears. Now let's go ahead and build out our material. I'm gonna start with just a plane, scale this out a bunch. All right, I'll also set up a camera. I'm gonna move our plane right beneath our gears. If you ever want something to look like it's on a surface, you almost have to have it barely touching. I'm gonna go ahead and scale that out. Now I'm gonna tab into edit mode, I'm going to go to my edge select, extrude this edge, and I'm just going to make us a nice little one of these here. Perfect. Awesome. And then I'm going to press A, scale everything out this way. That way we have a nice large surface here. That's perfect. That's kind of exactly what I'm looking for. And then let's set up a camera, and then we'll add in an HDRI and kind of start piecing our scene together so that we can actually go in here. All right, I'm going to try to make this as similar as it was before. I think we had a 20mm lens. We were working with 1920 by 1080. And we're going to get really close to our subject and enable some depth of field and all that good stuff. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's go here, here. Perfect. Kind of this downward angle here. And then I think we were probably even closer to our subject. I feel like it was about there. Let's take a look. All right, so here's rendered view. Let's go ahead and get an HDRI on there. I believe I used, which HDRI did I use? I think I used this one. We'll use this one for now. Either way, we can always come back to it later if we need to. So far, things are looking really good, and now it's a matter of setting up the actual material. Will you rig the gears? I won't rig the gears, but we can make them rotate and make them kind of like intertwine together as if they really would. All right, here we go. Let's go ahead and move this up a little bit. Perfect. Okay, one thing I'm going to do, I'm going to show you guys, when you're in solid view, if you click up here on this little arrow, you can click on depth of field, okay? And that depth of field is going to allow us to actually see our depth of field in camera here. So I'm going to click on depth of field. I'll enable that. My focus object, I can just click on my gears. And then I'm just going to turn my f-stop like a ridiculous amount down. And I can work backwards from there. Let's try 0.5. Let's try 0.3. Let's see how that looks. That looks pretty cool. So now we have this really nice, like, interesting looking perspective. All right, let's set up our floor next, and then we'll focus on the fun part, which is going to be our actual gears. So for the floor, I'm going to add a new material. I'm going to utilize a brick texture for this one. Plug it right into the color. No offset, because we want this to be a grid look, okay? And then we're actually going to take our brick width and height and make it 1 and 1. We'll scale this up a bunch. For our colors, this is kind of a quick way to do this. You can just copy each color and paste it over. So if you hover over a color, you can copy, paste, paste. We'll just change the mortar to like a lighter color. For the mortar size, I'm going to do 0.01, something like that. And now we have to plug in our mapping because as you can see, nothing looks quite right here. I'm also going to apply the scale as well. Perfect. So it looks a little bit funky right now. We're going to fix that, all right? Also, the angle of the lighting here isn't quite right, so let me just pop a different one on so we can see this a little bit better here. Let's do this one. Ooh, don't like that one at all. We're going to fix the lighting later regardless. Let's try this one. All right, that's fine. All right, so for the roughness, we'll turn that all the way up just for right now so we can see what we're doing. We'll add a texture coordinate as usual. We'll add in some mapping. And don't worry, we are going to get to this material that I promised you guys. All right. Now that we have all that set up, we can set this up as object. Perfect. Now we have nice squares. We can adjust the sizing of those. I also like to go into my camera and adjust this option here, which is the pass part out. So we're only seeing what's in the actual camera view. All right, here's a really cool pro tip. So now what we're going to do is we're actually going to add a bump node and make these look like they're actual tiles that are like protruding from the floor. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and go down below so we can really see this. We're really close to the floor here. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to zoom out, move these nodes over a little bit, add in a bump node. We're going to plug in our factor into the height and the normal into the normal. And you're not going to notice too much yet. We're going to adjust our filter width to, what did I have before? I think I had it at 4 or something like that. And then for our mortar smoothness, you can do 0.6. Now you're going to start to see, if you look really, really close, we actually have a small indent here, which is really cool. And we can adjust the strength here as well. And then for our distance, you can adjust that too. See how this looks. That looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. You can adjust it with a color ramp too if you want. I'm pretty happy with that. I actually think I might even decrease the distance a little bit. I don't want it to be like too intense. Let's try 0.3. And then for the filter width, we'll try 6. Maybe 2. Perfect. So now what we have is we have these nice tiles that are actually going to be slightly textured. It just gives the scene a little bit of a better feel. And then if we want to, we can lower the roughness a little bit of the floor, kind of get that nice, like, almost like that mirror-like finish on the floor. It's totally up to you guys if you want to do that. I think it looks cool, but you absolutely do not have to do that. All right, now on to the moment you've been waiting for. This is going to be the actual part where we go into our material. Now, for those who didn't really want to wait and you don't want to wait for me to piece this together, I will show you the original material. So for our original material, which is going to look like this, if you don't want to watch me piece it together piece by piece, I will show you the nodes right now. They are quite simple. So basically what we're doing is we are taking, I'm going to copy all this to the new scene. Hold on. I'm going to copy all this. Okay, so we're basically taking a mix shader. We're mixing two things. We're mixing a transparent and a glossy shader together. We're also mixing in an emissive layer weight part of this so that we get those nice little blue lines. So let's go ahead and break this down. I'll show you kind of like how we can do this. All right, so I have my material here. Perfect. Let's see if it popped over. It did. Let's copy the materials. Perfect. Now we are getting some weird shading in here because of our geometry. So let me go in here and add a loop cut. I think that's why we're getting it. Let me see. Now I'm still getting a little bit of weird shading. So with the layer weight node, basically let me explain what's gonna happen here / what is happening, because we'll piece this together piece by piece. I'm gonna unplug this. All right, so before we plug in anything else, let me show you what the first step would be. So the first step would be you would add a transparent shader, okay? You can make this any color you want. You can kind of mix and match. You can see right now it's kind of like a red material. We're mixing that with a glossy material. Now, I believe that the lower the roughness, the more interesting the details are going to look. The higher the roughness, you're going to get something that looks more like this. Now, our mix shader is going to mix between that material and basically a transparency. So you kind of get this like X-ray effect, which is really, really cool. I personally like it. I kind of think maybe we can set it a little bit lower. And again, that roughness value right there of the glossy shader is going to greatly affect the way that this looks. And then the anisotropy, however you say it, that kind of gives it that like stainless steel look. So if you're looking for that, you can absolutely do that as well. Me personally, I think it looks cool with like a lower roughness and about 0.7 anisotropy or anisotropy, however you say it. All right, so we'll go ahead and add that back in. Again, you can have a hint of color here if you want. I'll just put on green so you can kind of see what it looks like. You can also make this glossy thing have color as well. So you can really kind of mix and match here. Now that's just the transparency and the glossy mixed together. Now what we can do is we can add in our emissive layer weight, and this is going to give us kind of these like fun little outlines. Again, this isn't necessarily a real material that would exist in real life, but it does look really cool. But before we do that, I do need to make sure my focus is right. Yeah, it is. Okay. All right, so now what we do is we take a mix shader, and it's going to turn black at first because we don't have anything plugged into the other socket. All right, and what we'll do is we will plug in our emission, into the bottom of that shader. You'll notice everything turns white. But if we plug in a layer weight, I'll show you what it just looks like just with the layer weight. If we plug in a layer weight, now we have something really interesting here, right? And then if we plug in a color ramp, we can fine tune that layer weight for however we like, right? Now, me personally, I think that the green can get a little bit distracting, so I'll turn that down. You can also turn the actual amount of your layer weight down as well. Let's see how that looks. Now that's starting to look interesting. And as we play with the values, you'll notice that we can get something that's like super, super customized here. See, it actually kind of looks really interesting. Now the blue, if you're not a fan, you can turn that to like a bright green. It's totally up to you how you want to do this. Another thing I would suggest, since we're like kind of far into this now, is I would go over to your color management and I would potentially turn this up to medium high contrast and raise your exposure just a little bit to get more of that detail in here, right? And again, I'm not a huge fan of the way the inside of this gear looks, so I'm going to remodel that real quick. Yeah, it does look really cool, right? Yeah, I'm really happy with like how this turned out so far. So I'm not a huge fan of the way that this part turned out though, so I'm going to take this and I'm going to actually... Let's see. I am going to take these and probably scale them out. Let me just see. I'll take this and this. I'll scale it out a little bit. That looks cooler. And then I'll take this one. Perfect. I'll scale that out. Yeah, there we go. Let's see what that looks like. That's better. I like that look more. And then what you could do, if you wanted to add even more detail to this, is you could take this guy in the middle, right, this little face, inset it a little bit, extrude it, inset, inset, and then GY, push it back. Now you have like almost like this little pivot point in the center. Now you don't have to do that, but that kind of adds a little bit more detail to the render. And that's really the material right there. And I just thought this would be a really cool material to share with you guys, just because there's so much you can do with this now. Like you can apply this to like pretty much any shape, but obviously the more complex the shape is, the cooler it's gonna look. I just thought this was so neat. And you can play around with all these different settings, make this completely customizable to your liking. So far, what do you guys think? Pretty cool material, right? I dig it. And then what you can do, if you really want to get fancy with it, is instead of having to change these colors manually, you can go over here and type in color, right? Or sorry, not color. Is it color? Heck, is it input object info color? No. Oh, it's RGB. My fault. I think it's RGB. Is that it? Yeah. Okay, so you do RGB, plug these in here, and then you can just kind of mess around with the color. You can be like, you know what? I want it to be slightly green. No, you know what? I want it to be blue. And then you can kind of mess around with like the tint of this thing. Really, really fun, right? I actually kind of like that like orange look. And if you really want to get fancy, you plug it in here as well. But in my opinion, if you're going to do that, add a hue and saturation in between. And then change, or I'm sorry, that's hue. We want a hue and saturation. There we go. We want to modify this so that it's slightly off hue. We'll do like, well, this will be 0. Hold on. Why is it? Oh, I want hue. I want the hue to be 0.5. I'm sorry, I'm stupid. I got to plug this into the color. There we go. All right, so now if I want the hue to be off, right now 0.5 should be in the middle. If I want it to be slightly off, I could do like 0.7 or I could do like 0.6. And it would be just ever so slightly off so that as we adjust this, right, it kind of like dynamically adjusts with us, which I think is super, super awesome. And just look at that nice detail we're getting. We can even go back into the camera and increase our depth of field even more. Give a really like dynamic feel to this. And then if we really want to and go really crazy, we can really get in here, right? And get our camera nice and close to our subject. Let's see what that looks like. Now we have some really cool looking render here. I'm pretty happy with that. I feel like that looks pretty cool. And then you can really go in here and do really whatever you want. Like you can have any camera angle you want. You can have any material you want. It just looks cool. Yeah, I agree with that. That I will second. And then you can take your gears, or you can duplicate them. Have as many as you want. You could even rotate this guy, right? Have it on the floor. Okay, perfect. Just a thought. Push him out into the distance. I don't know. There's so much you can do with this. I just love this. I love this type of material, like especially with like the transparency. Now we can take it a step further too. Let's do that. Let's take it a step further here. So before we do that though, let me adjust my depth of field a little bit because this thing is going crazy here. Why is this camera being so weird right now? Oh, because I can't see the depth of field in the viewport. There we go. There we go. All right, let's see what we can do. All right, so with our material, what we can do is we can add another mix shader. This is where things are going to get really interesting because now I'm going to show you a cool technique with the brick texture. So as you remember before, with the brick texture, we can easily create a grid. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add a grid into this to make it look like it has like a wireframe kind of shader, kind of similar to the blueprint shader that I do. It's not exactly set up the same way, but we'll set it up in a similar fashion. I am going to need to borrow this transparent shader here. I'm just going to make this yellow so that I can see it. Hold on. We're going to add a mix shader here, and we're going to do, I'll group these so you can see. We'll do, I'm sorry, I'm not going to group them. I'm going to join them in a new frame. There we go. So we can kind of keep them organized. Perfect. All right, so I'll mix these two together. I'll go ahead and go right here. All right, so now we're going to have this really weird looking thing. Now I'm doing this so we can see what we're actually doing. I'm going to reduce the offset. I'm going to go ahead and add in our texture coordinate. I'll just copy this stuff here. Copy that over. Place that in here. Now we have our mapping. I'll go ahead and select that for the vector. And then I'm going to try UV for this one. Actually, let's try it. We'll try that. That's fine. All right, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to change all these to white. All right. Now for our mortar, I'm going to change these to black. All right. I'm going to copy that. Perfect. Now our mortar is white. Now so far this is kind of what I'm looking for, but it's not quite what I'm looking for. Now if the brick texture doesn't work, I'm going to add a wireframe as a backup. Try the wireframe real quick. Yeah. So we have a wireframe. We're going to do a transparent with 0 right here. Wireframe might work better. There we go. Now what we can do is we can adjust the amount of wireframe on here. So now we have, this is actually really, I think I like this better than what we were doing before, so I'm going to delete that stuff. So we have wireframe mixed in with this, right? And now what we can do is we can decide, okay, do we want the wireframe to just overlap? If we do, what we can do is we can plug this factor in here to the mix shader, and now it overlaps exactly the way we want it to, and we just decide how visible it is right here. But we actually want to invert that, I believe. Do we want to invert that? Hold on, let me try to remember here. No, we don't want to invert it. I'm so sorry, guys. You do want it like that, yeah. So now right here, we can decide, how much we want it to show up. Now we kind of have this cool wireframe. Now, if you don't want to do that, you can still do the same concept where it's kind of overlapped like this. Totally up to you. I think this looks pretty cool too. There's like a million ways to do this, but this looks awesome. And you can also adjust the pixel size as well. Now with the transparency, obviously you're not going to want to really do much with the coloring on that, but I already think we're getting like something more than what we started with, which is super, super awesome. Thoughts so far, guys? I feel like this one is pretty darn cool. My opinion. And then you come back here, right? You can adjust your brightness of your material, your saturation of your material. Ooh, that looks kind of cool. I kind of like the idea of like an orange kind of material. That's kind of a cool vibe. Yeah, I like that. And then of course you can take your your coloration down here and do the same thing. You can add an RGB node, and you can decide what you want your floor color to be as well. Like if you want your floor color to be like a really, really dark blue, you can do that to contrast. I don't really like that, so I'm going to go back to what I had before. And I'm also going to see, I kind of just want to see if we change this to orthographic, like what this would look like. Whoa, this is looking really sick. That's pretty cool. I kind of dig that. Anybody else? I kind of dig it. I don't like how glossy the floor is, so I'm going to go ahead and turn that, I'm going to turn the roughness up a little bit, probably to 0.8. How interesting is that? With the orthographic, we're really getting a new vibe now. And that's another thing, is it's like you can keep experimenting with this over and over again to get like the desired look. Like I could now take this back gear and I can make it blue. Like if I wanted to have like 2 different gears like that, right? I love this vibe. It's a vibe. Let's just see. Let's take a really close look at how this looks. I feel like this is a really interesting shader. This is why I love shader nodes, because there's really so much that you can do with them. You could also, here's where it gets really interesting, right? You can now take this, you can add yet another set of transparencies on top of that and fade this away. So I'll show you what I mean, because I'm like, now that we're talking about it, let's just do it. So we go to the end here, right? We can kind of like label all this stuff too. If you want, I can help you guys. Or would it help if I organized all this stuff for you guys? All right, last thing we can do, we'll do another mix shader. All right, we'll add another transparency, but we'll make this white. And then here with this is our like final mix shader here. I'm gonna mix it, right? So we know that we can go from no transparency to like basically fully transparent, right? So what's really cool about this is now we can decide where does that transparency start and stop. How do we do that? We're going to need a color ramp. I'm going to go ahead and plug that in right here. I'm going to go ahead and pinch these down a little bit. And I'm going to show you how we can use some clever mapping here. Mapping and texture coordinate. And we're gonna instead of using like a regular texture coordinate, I'm gonna show you how we're actually going to use. You can see already there's the effect we're looking for. We're gonna be able to use an empty, right? So let's go ahead and click on not object. Hold on. From here, I'll just add an empty first. We're gonna add. I'll just add in a cube so you can see how this works. So here's our cube right here. If we target our cube, did I target the cube? Okay, so now when I move this cube, notice how I can start and stop where the fade is. Let me make it a little bit more gradual. All right, so now if you look, I can rotate this cube. I can decide where this fade starts and stops, which is really cool. Now, usually you would use like an empty for this, but I just thought you guys would really appreciate how interesting that was. I'm going to delete the cube. I'm going to go back here, just use generated. And then for this time, I'll probably just adjust the location. There we go. So now you can see I can adjust the X value, and this is where it starts and stops. But if we adjust the Z value, there we go. You can kind of start and stop it from the top and the bottom as well. Usually you would want to do an empty because you kind of have like full control with that empty value. But this is just another example of like what you can do in Blender. And I just absolutely love that like this is even possible. So cool. Ow. Wow. Oh, and then of course, if you really want to bump up the contrast, you can bump it up even more and really make those things pop. So now you're probably thinking to yourself, okay, this is really cool. Can we step it up even a notch further? I have some ideas for how we could do that. So here's what I'll explain what I'm thinking first. This already looks really cool. Like I'm really happy with like how this is turning out. But now I'm thinking to myself, okay, we have these cool little gears, right? We're floating in outer space here. Everything's really cool. What if we took each edge and instanced a curve onto it to add like almost like a wireframe, but a really, really thin wireframe, just for like, I don't know how to explain this, like extra detail, basically. Let's try it. Let's try it just with one of them and see what happens. What the heck? I guess I'll just add a geometry node, the additional geometry nodes. I don't know. All right, we'll make a new geometry node setup. We'll do mesh to curve. All right, there it is right there. We'll do curve to mesh. We'll do curve circle. And then this curve circle is going to provide us with a profile. We'll do a radius of 0.01. We'll do resolution of 5. We'll reduce this radius down significantly, 0.005, maybe even less, 0.002. That looks good. Okay, so now we're going to need to also recombine this with the original mesh. So we'll join geometry. We'll join that original geometry back in. And now we should have something that looks like this. Just want to see what that looks like. This is very similar to like just the wireframe modifier. I was just curious to see what this looked like. Let me reduce this down. Let's reduce it down even more. Again, you kind of get that additional level of detail. I actually don't mind it. I actually think it looks pretty cool. What do you guys think? It does look cool. Let's go back to layout so we can see like a full view of this thing. All right, let's take a look at our work here. I don't mind it. It's, like I said, very, very similar to it really is also similar to the wireframe node. It's almost like we're enhancing the wireframe node itself, but in this case, we're doing it with actual geometry, which is not too bad. I don't really mind that. I think this material is starting to kind of come to life here. I do kind of wish there was like a little bit more like contrast. I almost wonder if maybe the maybe the reason I'm not loving the material, I'm going to remove the geometry nodes for now. I don't know if I'm in love with the material because I think I want the hue and saturation value to be different. Let's see. I wonder if that is what we're looking for. Oh, maybe it was the saturation. That was it. I think that was it. Let's test it with orange. Hold on. There we go. I feel like that's a little bit better. That's at least a little bit better. What do you guys think? Or was 0.65 better? I'm looking for that like subtle difference. The roughness is high. Let's do 0.1. That's a little bit better. Now let's try 0.5 for this. Nah, I liked it before. Even 0.1. Yup. But you still get that kind of nice like transparency. It's like the perfect cross between like transparency and metallic. It looks pretty cool. It is. Is it too much? Like, is it too much? Be honest, guys. I missed some comments. You said yes? Yes, it's too much, or it's good. The other thing that you could do here is on the inside of the wheel, like you could apply a different material. Like you could do like a metallic material on the inside. Let's just see what that would look like. So you tab into edit mode basically, and then you would take like the inside parts of this. Hold on. Maybe like these parts here. So you take these parts here, you go down to your materials, you add a new material, you click assign, and then this is what it would look like. And then you just adjust that material. So let's see what this would look like. So you take this material, maybe make it like metallic, I don't know, like 0.3 roughness. And now you have this like, it is kind of funny because now we have this material where it's like metallic on the inside, and then on the outside it's, you know, this transparency type material. That's kind of cool. If you don't want that, you can remove it, but I'm just kind of experimenting here, trying to see what works and what does not. A lot of this stuff really just comes down to like, what is your personal aesthetic? Like once you start to figure out the nodes, like now I'm thinking, okay, hold on, let me go back, right? And what if instead this does have like a hint of yellow or green? Or maybe even, what's the opposite of green? Red, I guess. Kind of an interesting vibe. And then we go back to this material and we're like, you know what? Let's try a blue. Oops, it's not blue. Let's try a blue and orange. That's kind of cool, right? There's kind of something going on there. And then we come back again to this guy and we adjust our anisotropic level, right? Turn it up all the way. Really turn that roughness down. And now we have something really interesting here. See, that's kind of cool. And now I kind of want to delete this other guy and duplicate. Hold on. I wonder. Oops, did not mean to delete that. Now I'm like, I kind of want to make like a whole truck out of this thing. But hold on, let me see something. 180. Yeah, so from the other side, you can't really see it as well. But this is starting to like see how like now when we piece together these like materials, it starts to kind of look interesting here. There we go. Perfect. Okay, let's take a look. Are they touching the ground? Wait a sec, did I move the ground? I think the ground is too low. Oh, no, it's not. Wait, why is... Oh, I moved this guy off the ground. Why did I... How did I do that? It's not supposed to be like that. There we go. I knew something was going on there. I was like, what is happening here? All right, let's remove our overlays. That is cool looking. That is really cool looking. What about adding an emission to give it some light? You could do that. You could give it an emissive texture on the layer weight. I have done that before and it looks really cool. What is this for? I'll be honest, man. I don't know, but I just think it looks cool. But now you got me thinking too. I got to go back and I got to take the inside of this guy right here. Assign that material there. See what that looks like. Did that work? Did I just mess that up? There we go. That looks kind of cool. Part of me wonders if I should just kind of get rid of that little part there. It's like kind of distracting. And this is where it comes back to like, what is the artistic decision that you want to make? Imagine using these nodes on everything. I know, and that's the thing is, it's like, this is kind of like a little bit of color theory, I guess. And this is where you get into other stuff like, okay, if I go back here and I go to my brick texture, what if I made all this like really light? Like what would it look like if the background was really, really light? It might not look good at all, but let's just see. So like if the background was really, really light, it's almost like a completely different material, right? And I don't particularly love that, but some people may be going for that vibe. So it's really, really, really important. I will tell you this, if I could give any advice at all, just keep on experimenting until you get that result that you're looking for. I really like this result. I'm really happy with this. I was up late last night trying to like make a cool material like this, and I'm very pleased with the way that this came out. Here's another thing I will mention. When we go back to the shading tab, we can also go back to our material, and we have our wireframe right here. You can make your wireframe any color that you want. I believe if we just take a diffuse, yeah, if you take a, I'm sorry, if you take, no, wait a second, hold on. Whoa, what is this going on here? If you take a, hold on, let me try this. I forget, actually. I know there's a way to do it, though. I just forget exactly what it is. Do the opposite. If you invert, oh, okay, okay. If you take this, invert the color, and then I believe you can just go like this. Did that work? No, it didn't. All right, scratch that. I might have to look back into that. I know there's a way to do it, though. Or is it like this? No, it's not. There is a way to do it. I just kind of forget how to do it. What's that? Is the wireframe supposed to be showing? Yeah, the wireframe is supposed to be showing. Yeah. Should be, I think. Let's see. This is without the wireframe. This is with the wireframe and the wireframe and the transparency mixed together. God, that actually looks cool too. Although I do like I like the other look. And now I'm coming back here and I'm like, okay, do we reduce the saturation just a little bit? God, there's so much potential with this. There we go. I like where this is at right here. All right, I guess we should animate these gears, huh? How long have we been streaming for? Does it say? 43 minutes. Okay, I'll take it. All right, so coming back to this, let's go ahead and animate these together. So this is kind of going to be the tricky part here. So I'm going to hide our plane real quick. So that, and I'm going to hide the camera too. So animating these is just a matter of rotating them, right? However, go back here. Rotating them, we'll just do it along the y-axis. The one tricky part is obviously getting them to rotate at the same speed. We should be able to do it because they're pretty much the exact same thing. We don't have like the different sized gears, like one big gear and then one small gear, and they're rotating together. So we should be able to do this. Let's just go ahead and insert a keyframe on the Y. We'll go to frame 60. Let's just rotate it a full 360. Insert our keyframe, and it should look like this. That's too fast, so I'm gonna do 360 and 360. There we go. I'm moving the keyframes out, so now when it rotates, oh, also we'll right-click linear interpolation mode. Now it's going to rotate like this. Should be able to do the exact same thing with the other one, but in the reverse order. So we'll insert a keyframe on the rotation. We'll go to 360, and then what we'll do is we'll take this number, we'll minus 360 from it, insert a keyframe. We'll add our linear interpolation. Let's see if we did it correctly. And we did not, because I have to add, not subtract. So hold on. Starts there. Y. We want it to rotate. I'm sorry. We want to add, not subtract. That's my fault. So we'll add 360 here, plus 360. Insert that keyframe. Again, we'll highlight all the keyframes. We'll go to linear interpolation. And now I feel like that looks right. I think that looks right to me. They seem to be rotating in the proper manner. I'm pretty happy with that. That's how you would get them to rotate. You're really just keyframing the actual rotation itself, obviously, but the harder part is if you had two gears that were, if you had two gears that were different sizes, you would have to, quite literally, I think you'd have to calculate it. But that is, at the end of the day, this is how you would do it. Do you know of any way to do you know of a way to wireframe subdivision patches instead of just showing the tries? No, you could do that with geometry nodes probably. Any chance that you guys will run your membership special before the end of the year? I missed Black Friday. I'm not 100% sure. I would reach out to CG Cookie for that. I'm not 100% sure because I don't usually handle stuff like that. So look, now we have our animation, guys. Let's check it out. There it is. Boom. I'm pretty happy with it. I think it turned out really good. Obviously, this would probably be like more like floating. Another thing you can do, you know, I just realized we can actually scale up. Let's do this because I want to do this now. Let's scale up the scale of the brick texture. I think it's going to help us make this thing look like more macro. Yeah, I feel like that helped a little bit. Maybe even less. I don't know. I guess it depends on like the look that you're going for. Excuse me. Yeah, I feel like that looks pretty cool. I am curious now if we turn down this roughness. See, that's cool too. This is what frustrates me about art and Blender, is there's always like more to experiment with. Like they say that art is never done. There's like, it's a common saying that I was told in high school in my art classes. And it's kind of true, right? Like I could keep adding to this and adding to this and adding to this, but it's like, at what point are you like happy with your result? Like this looks really cool. I like this. I could build a whole stinking car out of this thing, like especially with the material. Now I'm kind of thinking like, let's try this material out on some other objects and kind of see what we get there. Okay, here we go. So let's save. This is already saved. I just want to go ahead and open up a new project or an old project. I'm just going to grab, okay, you know what we'll do it on? We'll do it on this shoe. Do you guys remember the shoe that Kent made? We're going to, here, let me grab this shoe. I wonder if it'll work on this shoe. Let me duplicate this shoe. Let's do, oh, I didn't grab the laces. That's okay. Let's just do it on just this part here. I'm going to remove all the materials from this. Blender's really freezing up on me here. All right, here we go. No materials on this thing. Copy. The object has been copied. We're going to go back to our original file here. We're going to paste it in. Let's see. Oopsies. There we go. Let's see what this looks like with our material. All right, so here's the object with nothing. Let's give it, is this our material here? Hold on. Let me hide these two gears. Oh, you know what I forgot, guys? I did forget one, well, a couple things. One, we're getting some clipping because the camera's so darn close. But two, I forgot, wait, why is the camera not showing? There it is. Oh, I was like, why are we getting such like weird clipping results here? Did the color ramp cut this thing off? No, it didn't. Okay. I wanna zoom. I just kind of want to see what this is gonna look like. Wow. Hold on. It's going real slow right now. There's a lot of detail in this shoe. That is so cool. Is your neck okay? That was loud. Oh yeah, I'm good. Thank you. I did crack my neck. I know you're not really supposed to do that, but there we go. That's cool. A little X-ray version of this show here. Nice, solid modeling skills by Kent. So yeah, there's another great example of like what you can do with like a shader like this. This looks really, really neat. What do you guys think? I think it looks cool. Did you see the one post in Blender subreddit of the moon crater that looked like it was sculpted to be made entirely with nodes? No, but that sounds really cool. We could definitely do something like that if that's something you're down to experiment with. This is cool though. I love, like, I kind of want to find another object now. Let's find a couple more objects, and then we'll go into a different separate geometry nodes related project. Let's see. I think I have a car in here somewhere. I kind of want to try it on like a vehicle. Here we go. There's a Ford GT right there. Should we try it on that? Cool. Why not using denoise? Why not using denoise though? Oh no, it's taking forever to load. I'm not using a denoiser. Why is this thing like, bro? What? Hold on. Ford GT select hierarchy. Copy. Save. File, open recent gear. I think sometimes I don't love the way that the denoiser looks. Anybody else? Like, I feel like it makes it look a little weird. I kind of like the noise actually. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna get sued for that. I like the noise in Blender. That's crazy. I know. I'm a little crazy, right? Select hierarchy. Can I not join this? Hold on. Let me hide the camera real quick. Are you really not gonna let me join? Bro. I can't join this? Hold on. There's like something weird going on in here. Dude. Select hierarchy. Right click join. No join option. It's because there's so many weird things going on here. All right, we'll just do this instead. I'll turn the cylinder back on. Shift click that. Control L, link materials. Perfect. Hide that. Select hierarchy. We'll bring it down to our scene here. Oh, I'm getting clipping errors. That's why. All right, let's see what it looks like. This might crash Blender. Oh, you know what? I missed a material there. Whoa. That is so sick. Hold on, let me turn off my depth of field here. Well, I gotta hand it to myself. I think we created a really, really cool material today. I think it gives AI look. What? Well, it's not. It is fully procedural. Now that is one fancy looking material right there. Whew, that looks so cool. Let me change this to a perspective camera real quick. Wow. I don't know what to say other than like it's absolutely gorgeous and I couldn't be happier, and there's a lot that you could do with this. There's a lot you could do with this. Anybody else like definitely happy with these results? I am. This looks so cool. I'm just like I'm really like imagining the amount of like incredible like things that you could do with this, like wow. Gorgeous. I'm also messing around with the depth of field just for fun, but like let me Now I'm like, I kind of want to like add a different camera here. Obviously, guys, we are on an orthographic perspective here, which is really like, you don't really see that in real life. Like, that's not really possible in real life. I'm kind of curious, though, like, what would it look like if we were just, like, in front of the car? Like, dead on, almost. Oops. That's so cool. I'm happy with this material. I will use it myself, replay this session. I hope you do. How freaking cool is, see, like, that doesn't even look like it was made in Blender. That looks like someone would say, oh, it was made in Houdini, it was made in Houdini, or whatever. I kind of want to go here into solid view real quick with our depth of field enabled. And I want to, oh, it doesn't work for orthographic. That's okay. We'll adjust our focus distance in the viewport. You could, you know what you really could do here? Hold on, let me show you guys something really cool. You could, okay, so hear me out. Because actually now, you know what? I'm going to do this because I am so excited to see how this is going to look. I'm going to add an empty, and we're going to animate the empty as the focal point. So we're going to start it right here. We're going to insert a keyframe. We'll go to, let's just go to frame 60. GX, we'll move it to the front, insert the keyframe, and then we'll just use our empty as the focal point. See if this is working at all. So now the empty is the focal point. So let's see. At certain points, the empty is going to go through the car. Oh my God, this is going to look so cool. It's going to go through the car and reveal the wireframe of the car as the empty shoots through it. So let's play this back. This is going to be an intense one. Let's see if Blender can handle this. I'll be pretty impressed. Hold on. Let me also zoom in here. This might be like super legit. Hold on. Like this might actually be a really, really cool render. Does everyone see the vision? Here we go. Let's play it. It's going really, really slow, which kind of makes sense because there is quite a lot going on in this scene. Here, hold on. Let me turn the viewport samples down to like 20. Will that work? Is it working? I think it is Oh my gosh, it is working, but it's just so slow. Let's see if we can render out a quick sample of this. Let's do 10 samples. Let me just see what happens if I render one frame right now. Turn that off. Render image. Oh my God, oh, you know what it's doing? It's going through all the, it's because you know what it is for this one? It's because the car is so complex. There's so many, look at it going through all the car parts right now. I wouldn't be surprised if my live was frozen because the computer is doing so much for us right now. It's synchronizing the objects. Yo, this thing's going crazy. It's computing the normals. Oh my gosh, look at all the things it's doing. We might not actually get a render out of this. Let's see. It's computing a tree. Computing tree. I don't know what it's doing right now. It's doing something. It's computing a lot of things right now. Man, I'm curious to see what this is going to turn out like because I really think this is going to look cool. Comment if you guys think this is going to look really cool because I think that it is. I promise we'll get the geometry nodes after this. I know we didn't do much geometry nodes today, but I thought you guys would really appreciate this really cool material. All right, it doesn't want to do anything for me. You know what? I'm curious. Should we see if this runs in Eevee? I'm really curious if this runs in Eevee. Bro. Oh my gosh. Blender might freeze on us here. Come on, no, don't do this. Not right now. Not with this shader. You know what I should have done too? I should have duplicated the camera because that other camera angle of the gears was really nice. I don't even remember what the angle was. Oh, thank God. Okay, we're good. We're in the clear. Let me just see something. Eevee. Oh, it'll work in Eevee, yeah? You guys see the vision now? Ho, 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 ho. Anybody seeing it? Hold on. Look at the vision. Let me also adjust. I'll adjust the depth of field just a little bit. Set an f-stop of 2. Let's do an f-stop of 10. There we go. Everybody see the vision now? So it's blurred and it's going through the car, like kind of assessing like all the different parts of the car. Pretty cool. At least I think it's pretty cool. All right. A bit vague. What do you mean? Oh, like the way that it looks? Yeah. It looks much better in cycles. Here's what it looks like in cycles. Whoa. So like if you'd have the middle of the car. Wow. All right. Enough of this nonsense, guys. Let's go ahead and go back to our original. Well, I'm gonna first of all duplicate this camera because I want to have a different camera on here. All right, let's go back to the gears, and then we'll do orthographic, or we'll do geometry nodes. I'm sorry. Where did those gears go? Select hierarchy, delete. We're deleting the 4GT. Sorry, it's gonna slow down this file entirely too much. Okay. Zoom out. Tilt down. I feel like that's kind of about where we were at. And I think the f-stop was really, really low. Probably focus on this guy. That's probably about 3. That looks good. All right, I'm happy with leaving it at this. This was a good pausing point for this specifically. Now, on to geometry nodes. What would you guys like to learn about geometry nodes? Drop it in the comments down below. I'm going to get some water real quick. I'll be right back. And then as soon as I get back, I promise you we will get right into geometry nodes. Okay, guys? Just give me like 1 minute, okay? 1 minute to get water. Thank you, thank you. I'll be right back. Right back, right back. All right, guys. Sorry about that. Thank you. All right. Okay, so I think someone was mentioning craters? I think someone was. Excuse me. All right. Let's add a cube in here. We're in geometry nodes right now. Go ahead and move myself over here. Does anybody have any questions so far? Anything you guys want to learn that we haven't learned yet? Okay, hold on. Someone said there was a moon crater that looked like it was sculpted, but it was made entirely with nodes. Okay, so if I was going to go about something like that, this is probably how I would do it. I would first start with a sphere, a UV sphere. All right, I would plug it in here. I would probably cut it in half, so we're going to delete geometry. But we only want to delete the geometry that's above Z0 axis. So for our selection, I would say greater than, and I would do combine XYZ. Or I would just do, vector. Yeah, vector. No, I'm sorry, hold on. Let me see something. Oh, set our position. I'm sorry, position, and then we'll do XYZ. Separate the XYZ. If the Z is greater than, I don't know, 0, you delete it, right? So here's how this works. So procedurally speaking, what you would do is you would take a sphere, right? You would delete it, but you don't want to delete the whole sphere. You only want to delete a specific selection. In this case, we want to delete anything that has the position of Z that's greater than a threshold, which is in our case going to be 0, right? So because of this, what this does is this right here, I'll just rename this. I'll call this deletes top half of sphere. So that's how I would do that. I would delete the top half of the sphere, okay? And honestly, this whole thing does that. So I'm just here's what I'll do. Deleting the top half of the sphere is that simple, right? So we deleted the top half of a sphere. The next thing that I want to do is I want to displace the sphere. So I'll use the set position node. I'll probably use the Voronoi node, or sorry, not Voronoi, noise texture. I'll plug that into our offset. But in this case, I don't want to just offset the whole thing. I only want to offset z-axis. So I'll combine the XYZ, plug it only into the Z. I'll also join these into a new frame as well, and I'll rename this frame. I'll just do apply noise. Okay. So right here, what we're doing is we're taking a noise texture, and we're only affecting the Z component of our crater, right? Now, you're probably thinking, okay, there's not quite enough detail here. Just save this. There's not enough detail. If there's not enough detail, you can bump these both up to 40. Get some more detail there. And I'll also show you how we're going to kind of adjust this as well. And also, the larger, usually the larger the radius and the more segments there are, right, the more detail you're going to be able to achieve. In fact, we might even be able to do 200, yeah. So right now, you kind of have this weird looking like crater thing, right, which isn't terrible. You can also adjust the size of it with the transform geometry node, but right now I just kind of want to mess around with the roughness of the roughness and the scale of our noise texture. So right now, like, you can kind of do something like that. That looks kind of crater-like. I'll also shade this smooth, right? Now, this is just the sphere, right? It's not really like there's no like surface around it. So like if we wanted to, we could probably add like a surface around it. But what's really cool about this is you can like adjust. I love that you can just like adjust the roughness of the crater. I don't know what this value really does. You can distort it, or you can make it more or less distorted. There's so many cool things you can do here. I guess if you wanted it to be rocky, you would ideally like adjust the roughness. You would have high roughness, high this level, I guess high distortion. I don't really know how you would make it look exactly like a crater. You just kind of have to mess around with your different... Like, I think that looks pretty cool, but that's my opinion. And what's really cool about this is now you're like, it's not perfectly cut in half, but if you wanted to, let's see if we can use this same exact thing to delete geometry again. So we're going to delete the geometry again, and let's just plug that same selection in. And look, it's going to cut it in half again, but I don't like the way that looks, so I'm just going to adjust that. All right, so now what we would do is, oops, a low percentage there. So now what I would probably do in this case for our crater is I would probably see if I can combine it with like a plane, which should be possible theoretically. So I'm going to add in a grid, which is essentially a plane, right? I'll go ahead and join the geometry at the end here. I'm going to call this, oops, I'm going to put this in a new frame. I'm just going to call this, I don't know, surface. All right. Now, I want to join this together, right? And I want this thing to be big. Like, I want it to be maybe like, I don't know, 20 by 20, right? But I want this to meet up with where the crater is, right? Like, basically I want our crater to intersect with this in some capacity. So in order to do that, we could probably use a Boolean, or we could combine the UV sphere with the surface. Like, I think we could probably do a mesh Boolean here. Okay, and we could take this, plug it in here. And now, as you can see, that kind of worked, right? The only thing is it doesn't really account for the displacement. So instead of plugging this result in, let's plug this result in here. Now we get something that's more fine cut, right? If we look at this on a wireframe kind of basis, you can see our little outline right here if you look very closely. And it looks a lot better. Oops, there we go. The only thing is, though, now it's not really aligned with like the top of this. And that's kind of where we go back to, okay, do we just delete and then merge things? So right here, what we could do, let's see if this works. I don't know if it will. We'll try this approach first. We could do merge by distance right here. Oops, I'm sorry. We could do, hold on, let me think about this first. This should not be here. It should be like this. Oops, I'm sorry. It should. Hold on, let me think. What did I do first? I did delete geometry here, and then we want to delete only the selection that's greater than a certain amount. Now what we need to do is we need to merge the distance here, and that would give us like our crater within the within our platform, what would be kind of difficult. So let's see if we can finagle something here. The other part of it is like, okay, do we merge by distance, but only like around that outer perimeter? Because I think that might be possible. Let me just see what happens as we do this. How many? Oh, this thing has no vertices. That's why. There we go. Oh, I was like, there we go. So now, okay, I actually think it's actually working here. It's working a little bit. There we go. That's a little bit better. All right, so here's what I did. Here's what I changed. I didn't realize my grid didn't have much to it. So the surface itself needs to have some geometry, which now it does. And then it's going to kind of go into the crater here. Like it's going to be on the side of the crater where they connect. And at that point, we're merging by distance. So now we're merging by distance. The greater that number is, typically, I guess the closer they're going to come into contact there. I'm not entirely loving the shading here. Not entirely loving it. Do we have some gaps? We do. We don't want gaps. We don't want gaps. Hold on. Let's try. Ooh, we definitely don't want gaps. It's a little bit better. Why are we getting gaps here? Connected. Oh, no. That's not good. All right, so we know we don't want it connected. We want it to be all. But we don't want gaps either. So let me just try this. All right, less vertices seems to work better. We're starting to get somewhere here. Anyway, the whole point of this is wherever that sphere is, it's going to kind of overlap with that surface. That would be like, I guess, like a procedural crater. That would be kind of like my basic approach to it. I think the hardest part is like when you're joining objects. But for the most part, I feel like it turned out okay. Like, what do I have this at? 200 and 200. You can also connect a value in here. Like I could do 300. I could connect that here and here. And you kind of get a greater version of that. Ooh, maybe that's the key. Hold on. Do we just need more vertices to work with? No, not necessarily. Oh, maybe it's less. Oh, that seemed to work really nicely. Okay, now it's nice and smooth. Perfect. Now it's a little bit strange looking towards the center, but I actually think that's perfect. Now let's try something, because now I'm curious. If I adjust the radius of this sphere, whoa! Everybody see that? That's really cool. That is a really cool effect. All right, so unknowingly, in trying to create a crater here, we discovered a really, really interesting effect. Can't you make the top of the crater even, merge it into the plane, and then distort that edge? I suppose you could. That edge would be hard to find. That I don't know how to do, but I'm like now more obsessed with the fact that if you were to animate this, there's a few parts where it would get a little glitchy, but like if you were to animate this, I wonder what would happen if it went bigger than the plane. Bro, that is so cool. That effect could definitely be used for something. It almost looks like liquid. That is so awesome. All right, so what were we saying? Oh yeah, so we were saying, oh, here's what we could do. We could add a torus. So here's just a thought. We could add a torus that's the same width as the top of the crater. We could merge it. Let me just think about this for a minute. I see what you're saying though, like an outer ridge. Hold on, I'm brainstorming. I'm locked in. Okay, I'm locking in. I think I got it. Okay, so we need a torus. So let's just start with like, let's get a torus on there. Let's do a joint geometry. Let's do torus. Oh, you can't do a torus? Oh wait, we can do a mesh circle. Hold on, wait, we can do a curve circle. Hold on, we can do a curve circle. Join that in there. Let's adjust the radius here. Well, the radius should be the same as the UV sphere. So let's do a value, and we'll do 7. And then we'll do 7 here. Perfect. Now the radius of the circle is the exact same as the sphere. So if I adjust this, it should work accordingly. Now the curved circle, we need a curve to mesh because we want to, well, convert it to a mesh. All right, and now we want to have, or I'm sorry. Well, actually, let's see if this, will this work? It will. There we go. So now we have a curved circle. This can be like that exterior, like, I guess, surface here. Now let me see right here. I want to see the geometry we're working with. So it looks like our curved circle has some stuff going on with it. We can probably work with that. Now I wonder if I took that and I said, okay, let me set the position. And then I basically apply the same type of noise here. Now we have the noise applied, right? Let's increase this to like 100. That doesn't matter as much. So the problem with this is going to be we might want to remesh this. So let me just try triangulate first. Okay. And then for the curved circle, yep, looks good, looks good. Hold on, let me think. If I could scale, I could probably scale elements. No, not scale elements. It would be transform geometry. So if we transform the geometry, we should be able to scale it on the Z like that. Move it down a little bit so it's kind of like on the surface here. And then we would take that and we would merge that in with everything else after we distort it. So let's actually, yeah, that'll be after we distort it. So let me think. I'm curious to see what would happen here if we did this, and this. Let's see. Ooh. Oh, God. That looks horrible. But I like the concept. Another thing, it looks like lava. What is good? Career now. Oh, you're saying what is a good career now that I should start? Is any other profile that is growing? I am a graphic designer and a video editor. I guess your goal should be to like find clients first. I think that is the first and foremost thing you should always do is make sure there's a need for what you're doing with really any job or any business. People falling into another dimension. I know it looks like lava. Yeah, it does a little bit. With the industry, it is changing rapidly, but there's always opportunities out there. If you can prove that you have a good portfolio, people are probably going to hire you. You just have to figure out like price points and things like that. But I would just say like start by getting your first client. A good career choice would probably be like just a freelancer right now and trying to get client work like that. That would be my current opinion. Just an idea. Just an idea. All right, so one thing I need to do, and I think I realize why this isn't working, is because after I set the position, I need to then delete the geometry. But in this case, I need to delete only like the top part of it. But hold on, wait a second. I'm thinking, is there an easier way to do this? I don't know that there is. I only want to delete the position that is greater than Z. Oh, we need combine XYZ. Or no, I'm sorry, we need what did I have? Yeah, it's combine XYZ. Combine XYZ. Oopsies. We only want the combine XYZ on the Z to be actually less than, I'm sorry. Less than, and we want it to be less than 0. And we want it to be, hold on, let me break this away from the frame. Perfect. We don't want less than vector. We want less than 0. And why isn't it working? Oh, because, wait, what? That's a little weird. Why is it acting like, oh, because, oh, it's, hold on. Bro, what? Hold on. You're acting like you are. No, that's not what I want. I want it to be. Is what? Wait. It should be working in the up and down direction. I'm not sure why it's not doing that. Thanks. Yeah, I hope that helped. I mean, like I said, it really is just a matter of experimentation with your career. It's tough because there is a lot of competition in the market, but that shouldn't discourage you. I would say just keep on creating, and eventually someone somewhere is going to notice what you're doing. It's just tough because there is competition. You have to be kind of realistic about it. I don't know why this isn't working, but I actually think this is really cool that we were messing around with this, and we were like, you can kind of like build things with the delete geometry node. It's kind of cool. Like I could like build this out. I actually kind of liked what we had before, but I'm more interested in like the fact that we can like expand this thing. Hold on. Where is it? Where is it? We can like kind of expand this like, I don't know, this whole of noise. Like this is really cool. Just kind of a neat effect. I kind of want to animate it real quick. Hold on. Where's my timeline? Let's just start small like this. Insert a keyframe. Let's go to frame 50. And let's press insert. All right, I just want to watch this back. That's cool. So this is cool because like I could see this effect being used for a lot of purposes. Wow. How cool is that, guys? Anybody else find that pretty interesting? Like I said, it kind of looks like water. Like it really kind of looks like water. I don't love the torus thing or the curved circle that we did, so I'm going to actually do a switch on that. I'm going to go ahead and turn that off because I don't entirely love that. This is our node setup. It's nothing too crazy. Honestly, the most important part right here is the noise application. Let me shade this smooth. Ugh. I wonder what would happen if we didn't merge by distance. Whoa. Oh, that merge by distance really slowed things down. How cool is that, though? I realize my face is probably taking up the entire screen, so there you go. That's really cool. I'm wondering, like, what could an application be for this? This is really neat to me, though. Even without the Boolean, like, just the actual, like, sphere. Like, if you take a look at the sphere being, like, animated, I don't know. There's something there for sure with like in terms of like it just you're all we're really doing is like expanding something, but this could be really interesting. This could be really interesting. You're welcome, by the way. Yep. All right, we got about a good 40 minutes left. Is there anything else you guys want to see geometry nodes related? I think we can keep experimenting with new concepts. I mean, I'm good at just kind of coming up with new ideas. So if we want to do that, we can roll with that. In the series, people, yes, underwater explosion. Yeah, actually, that's a good, that's a good idea. Like that, this does look like, it almost looks like, you know what it looks like? Like a shock wave. And now I'm thinking, let's try that. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to build off of what you just said because that's an interesting concept. I'm going to get rid of everything right here. Don't worry, nothing's broken. Your boys got it. All right, let's go back. So we have this shockwave, right? I'm also not going to delete any of the geometry. I'm just going to do this. So now we have this thing that's like expanding. But now I'm like, you ever seen like an explosion shockwave? Hold on. Yeah, here we go. Perfect. Here, I'm going to show you guys a video. That's it. Hold on. Not a video. I just want to show you a picture. I'm thinking like when I say shockwave, I mean the type of shockwave where like you can see it. Like Yeah, like this. You can kind of see the bubble around. There it is. That is so cool. I wonder if we could replicate that. I think we could. I think we could, and I think we should. One thing we'll have to do is the interpolation mode. We'll have to adjust that. The underwater explosion is a cool idea, but now I'm also thinking, like, what if we did this? What if we had a surface, right? Let me just get a material on this. Or, sorry, I'm going to get some lighting on this thing. Let's just do a nice, like, outdoor scene here. Do your classic, like, boom, you know what I'm saying? Oh, are we upside down? Oh, my God, I didn't even know we were upside down that whole time. That's kind of scary. This whole time, guys, we had no idea. I'm going to give this a material. Let's make sure this material is linked first. I'm also going to... I want to give this more... Yep. Did we shade it smooth? I thought we shaded it smooth, no? There it is. Okay, so for our material, I want this material to actually be glass with no roughness, very low IOR, so that when we look at it from the side, it looks kind of like this, right? It's kind of like this like shockwave thing. Great idea, whoever said that, by the way. I do want to kind of adjust one thing, though. I think it's the detail is like a little bit too heavy. I feel like that's a little bit better. Let's see what that looks like from the side. Yeah, I feel like that's good. That's kind of what we're looking for there. Perfect. Okay, and then for this guy, let's do interpolation mode. I want to see what exponential would look like. Let's do linear. Perfect. All right, so we have our linear perspective here. Let's give this let's like set up an actual scene where like an explosion could take place. I am going to go to polyhaven.com. Let's go to textures. I'm just gonna find something that looks like, yeah, terrain. Perfect. This is exactly what we want. Let's see here. How about aerial rocks? Could that work? I kind of like this one here. Should we try this one? I feel like this would make sense for what we're doing. Download the Blender file. All right, and we're gonna open this up, and then we'll just we'll copy the material right over. So when you go here, you have to right-click, extract all. You're gonna get something that looks like this. Click extract, and then we'll open this right up. We'll throw a material on the plane. Let's copy this over. Why is my mouse like... My mouse is going like incredibly slow right now. There we go. Object applies. Go. All right, good. Except we need to adjust the scale of this for sure. Where's the scaling? Ooh, it's a little repeated, but that's all right. All right. Oof, I don't like it though. Not in love with it, but that's okay. We'll subdivide it, give it some displacement. Okay, I don't love that. Let's try noise. Now let's try clouds. Yeah, there we go. Okay, better. All right, for the scale, be like that. That's perfect. It's a little bit better at least because it's got some kind of something to it. It breaks up the pattern a little bit more so that when we look from the side, we're like, ah, okay. I'm also going to go ahead and I think I want to find something that fits the vibe more of like where this thing actually is. No. I'm tempted to just use an outdoor one. Tank farm. I feel like that fits the theme, kind of. Sort of. What were we doing again? Oh, you were making an explosion. This is gonna have to be like a big explosion, isn't it? Yeah, the head of a mushroom bomb, exactly. Shockwave called Kaya. My mouse has an extra button in the middle. Oh, maybe I'm accidentally clicking that button. There's a good chance that I'm probably clicking that button. All right. You know what, guys? I have a slightly different idea. I kind of want to take a different approach to this. Well, first of all, let me set up a camera. I do have an idea though for what I want to do. I know I've been like all over the place this live stream, but I think what I'm going to do is just kind of like an artistic version of what we were already going to do. Bro, this mouse is pissing me off. Dude. Is it running out of maybe it's running out of battery? Or maybe like, am I doing too much right now for this live stream? Like what? There we go. All right, so I just kind of want to zoom in here. I want to do some depth of field. I do love some good depth of field here, though. All right. All right. Yeah, not feeling the noise. Let's get rid of the noise. Let's not really feeling this either. Let's try this. Already much better. Okay. And then what I want to do is I kind of want to do like a smoke explosion. And I'll explain what I mean by that in just a second. Let me do this. Okay, here we go. All right, I'm also going to make this. I'm going to go into my shading tab. I'm going to make this semi-transparent as well. So I'm going to do like a mix shader with the transparency. Not translucent, transparent. There we go. And then I want to go ahead and snap to the camera, which I am. Cool. There we go. All right, that's kind of what I was looking for. All right, so we have this. Now, I'm going to do a smoke explosion in the middle, and then I think I'll probably call it on that. Let's see how much time we've been live streaming for. About 1:35. Perfect. I think we have just enough time to at least do like some kind of smoke explosion. Very cool. All right, let's do this. Let's add, we'll hide this for right now. I'm just going to call this shockwave so I don't forget. And then I'm going to do a, I'll just do a cube. We'll do object. We'll do quick effects. I don't think I've tried quick explode. Let's try it. Let's see what it does. Is that quick explode? I feel like did not do what I wanted to do, but that's okay. All right, so we have a gas domain. Perfect. I want to turn off gravity. Not that that's really going to affect it much. It just kind of helps me visualize what's going on here. I want this thing to be smaller because I want it to kind of like expand outwards. And then I want this to be, let's see. Wow, turning off gravity really affected things, even though it really shouldn't. Bro, this mouse. Wait, hold on, I'm getting a different mouse. This mouse is the last time I ever used this darn mouse. Hold on one sec, guys. Sorry. Is this mouse gonna work for me? For now, this will have to do. That's much better. I even turn this mouse off. All right, it doesn't matter. I'm just gonna put it over here. It's all good. All right, so for our... God, I'm not used to this type of setup. Hold on. Sorry, guys. Let me just do this real quick. Do this. Tell you what, it's funny because like the problems you think you're gonna have are never the problems. They're never like the type of problems you want. It's like the simplest things. Like I guess I'm just gonna stick to a wired mouse for now. All right. Wow, this one's gonna take some getting used to. Anyway, let me turn gravity back on. Negative 9.8 meters a second squared. Not sure why that would really affect the smoke, but okay. So what I want is ideally I want some turbulence. Let's add that. Let's do 5. Now we have this kind of like, see how we kind of have this like smoke explosion now? Let's try to play it back again. So we have this kind of like smoke explosion, which is perfect. And then what we'll do, hold on, let me think. I just want to think about this for a minute. I want the resolution obviously is going to be higher. So perfect. Where's our shockwave? Yep, so we have like our smoke explosion. It's got some turbulence to it. Let's see what it looks like real quick. What does it look like in our shockwave? All right, let's do 100. Let's bake it out to, we're just gonna do this to frame 60. I just kind of want to see what this is gonna look like. We'll do all, we'll bake. Let this bake through. Oh, is there another blender open? Maybe there is. No, just the one. Although I have had, there has been situations where there's been like multiple instances opened. All right, this looks really cool. Let's go to volume. Increase that density a bunch. So now we have something that's going to look like this. I'm just curious what it looks like. That's kind of cool. Except the shockwave would be a lot closer. So let's adjust that. Let's go to geometry nodes. In the beginning, right here, we want this to be much smaller like that. Oh, crap. Did I mess this up? Hold on. Oh, I accidentally have 2 keyframes there. There we go. All right, so obviously the expansion needs to be less. Bro, why did I put all the keyframes on the wrong frames? That's okay. All right, so it should look like this now. We have the smoke in the middle. We have our expanding, like, I don't know, shockwave thing. You know what? I'm also thinking we could just make, like I said, we could make this kind of like just a fun stylized thing. Like it doesn't have to, like, it doesn't necessarily have to be this like premiere thing, right? Just adjust the roughness here. Yeah, like here, look, like now I got myself thinking, right? Because I want to do an orthographic perspective. Zoom out. The focus object should be our shockwave. Now I want to do the grid back. I like when things look like experiments. So we're going to make it look like an experiment. Okay, guys? All right, let's go to shading. We'll do that. You know what? I'm just going to copy the material that we had from earlier. Remember the grid material? I'm going to copy this. File, open recent, creator. Good. Paste that in there. Just hide that. Perfect. All right, I just need to scale this out a bunch. And then I need to adjust the roughness and the scale of the grid. And then I think I'm going to get rid of the bump. I really just want this to be more like an experiment. Perfect. And let's see how that looks. Awesome, 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 awesome. And then for this guy, this is going to be our shockwave. I want to see what we can really make this look like. This is kind of like a cool, I'm kind of curious to see like what we end up coming up with here. Is this our cube for our smoke? Yes, it is. We're going to turn that off for render. Perfect. Now we got this really interesting thing going on here. I like it so far. Go back to our plane. Again, scale. All right, now for our depth of field, kind of adjust that a little bit. We're kind of, guys, like I said, we're kind of just going for it, like kind of just seeing like what we can come up with here. Another thing we can do with our smoke domain is we can change the color of the smoke, right? We can make it blue, which looks, honestly, I kind of like it. I might keep it like that. We can also mess around with like here, like, try to see something. This is kind of cool though. Like I kind of like this. Doesn't look cool. I agree. I think I want to make our, I want to rebake this at a higher level. So right now it's at 100. Let's bake it at 200. This is going to look really, really detailed. It should look really interesting. It might take a second. When this is done, I'm going to adjust the glass shader too, because I want to add that layer weight effect. Save police. Oh, yep. Gotta save it. Gotta save it, guys. So right now, Blender is working through the computations for our material. It looks like a cool wizard magic trick. And that's why I love, like, when we get into stuff like this, you just never know where it's going to take us. Like, I think creativity is like when you get into like a flow state and you just kind of like go with it and you just kind of figure out what's going to happen. Those are when my best ideas come along, is when I just don't know what I'm going to do and it just kind of comes to me. It's like this like force that just kind of like flows through me. I call it like a flow state. Some people call it something else, but for me, it's just creativity. It just comes to me. It used to be a running joke when Kent did the live streams. What was the running joke? Future tutorial on it? Yes, I definitely will. Wait, what was the running joke? It's the save police. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I will say I am notorious for saving very frequently. All right, here we go. All right. Oh, it's going out to frame 60. All right, we'll let it go. We'll let it go. So once it gets to frame 60, we're going to adjust our glass shader. I'm going to try to create like an outline around the glass shader so that it's kind of like got that layer weight feel, similar to the shader that we just created. Come on, you're almost done, bro. You're almost done. The only downside to this, and that's why you don't see a lot of these simulations, is because people hate waiting for this stuff. And I really can't blame them because it does take forever. All right, let's play it back. Oh, the smoke is escaping our bubble here. Ho, ho, ho. All right. All right, let's go to shading. Let's click on our shockwave. I feel like our shockwave, like this whole shockwave idea, got away from us a little bit, but that's okay. All right, let's do this. Let's do a emission with a layer weight. Okay, here we go. Whoa. Let's try this. There we go, better. Okay, so now we have something that's like stylized too. So we can come in here, we can like make it blue if we want to. Let's see what this looks like. Oh, this is gonna look really cool. And as it expands, all right, I'm having one thing that I want to change. The brick texture. Where's the brick texture? I want to change this up a little bit. Where's the roughness here? Is it the mortar color? I guess it's already pretty already pretty dark. It really is just the lighting at this point. You see something. Oh, that looks cool too. Before you go for the weekend, can you rate my firework homework? Oh, yes, absolutely. I definitely can. Thank you for the reminder. It looks like an egg cell that becomes a human one day. I know, and that's the other thing is like you can really, really expand off of this idea. I don't love the background. I'm having trouble with like falling in love with the background a little bit. I guess it's just the lighting. Let me just see something here. It might just be the lighting. Let's mess around with that real quick. So in excuse me, in our shading tab, you go over here, you type in texture coordinate, mapping, plug it in like this, and then we can adjust the lighting here. So let's adjust it a little bit on the Z-axis. Is that kind of what I'm looking for? I actually thought I had one that was working pretty good. Hold on. That's a little bit better. That's a little bit more like what I was looking for. Cool. I'm happy with that. All right, now we got this really interesting thing that's like expanding, right? But the smoke kind of escapes it a little bit. And I kind of wish we could see through it just a little bit more. Shockwave. I just want to see what happens. If we turn our shockwave off, there's the smoke. The beautiful, gorgeous smoke. But if we go back to our object mode here, we can, let's see. I feel like that looks pretty good. Yeah, it looks pretty cool. What do you guys think? Be honest. Oh, kill zone. Well, can you? Kind of. You could potentially animate like, I mean, it'll be easy because we can adjust this procedurally. You could potentially animate like a gradient that deletes the volume, it would be like a shader node edit. But I think it's possible. You could probably do something like that, yeah. See, that looks cool too. That's why I'm like, do we take this and just kind of like give it a plain background with like, I don't know, gray maybe? Let me see something. We make it a little bit darker. What if we put I'm just curious, if we put an area light on top of this? Where's this area light? There it is. I'm just curious, guys. Let's adjust the spread, 30. There's so many directions you can take this. Like, for me, it's a lot about like creating a composition that looks interesting more than anything else. Like something that looks like visually interesting. Like, I'm still not really in love with like the composition, and it's gonna it takes me time. Like, it takes me time to like get to a point where I'm like, yep, that's it. That's the composition right there. It seems it doesn't matter what you change BG lighting texture properties every time it looks incredible. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I don't know. I'm really picky when it comes to this stuff. Like, I really want it to look the way that I want it to look. Honestly, even just the smoke itself is cool too. Like, we could experiment with just the smoke, right? We take the area light, we give it maybe like a wider spread. Well, I actually didn't mind what it was like before. So cool. Blender's awesome. Blender is my My saving grace. Let me see. You know what? Let me do this real quick. I need to turn off the depth of field because I think it's messing with the quality. There we go. It's a little bit better. Wow. It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. And then we can go back to our smoke domain and we can raise the density up to 100 if we want to. Really make this thing like a thick cloud. You know what I mean? And thank you for the compliments. I really do appreciate that. It was a texture on the area light. Texture could be a video. Yeah, you can do that. That's possible. I've seen it. I've seen it done before. There's so, like I said, there's just so much you can do in Blender. It is insane. I feel like I could just mess around with this specifically all day. I mean, you name it, all day. Look at this. Let's watch. Let's play this back for a minute. Ready, guys? Ready to watch this? This is just the smoke by itself. Look at how like curly it gets. Oh, it's so cool. There's another thing we can do to like vamp up the way that this looks too. You can do. I think you can do. Hold on. Let me see if I remember this properly here. On the smoke domain itself, I believe you can take the density, multiply it. You can do color ramp. I think you can do this. See if I remember how to do this. You can, hold on. There's a way to, that already looks cool, but anyway, there's another thing you can do. If you move this down, you take a color ramp, you take a noise texture. I guess you could take a wave texture. Plug this in here. And then what you can do is you can actually, hold on, let me just, texture coordinate mapping. Let's try rings. Spherical. There we go. Okay, so what you do is now we can decide, okay, let's take our blue color, right? We want some blue. We want some light blue here. Okay. Now hold on. We want some green. Okay, there we go. Distortion, we'll do 2. Let me just play with this first. We'll do a little bit of distortion. No detail roughness. And then what we'll do is we will now like add some more coloring to this. So like you could do you can really add anything you want to this, but what's cool about this, I know this is kind of neat, but what's really cool about this is we can kind of like add fake, sort of like this like fake detail to our smoke simulation. There we go. That is so cool looking. I wonder what would happen if you plug this into the density. Nah. So then you come in here, and then you add, I think you can add, what happens if you add black? I forget. Something cool happens if you add black. Yep, look, so like, now you have this kind of like stylized looking smoke, right? That is crazy looking. Or you can add black in between too. Like you could add black right here. And then you just go in here and you distort it. It kind of looks like, you know what it kind of looks like? Kind of looks like coral or something, you know? That looks pretty cool. You want my PC? Yeah, this thing's great. I do love this PC. I want to see. I don't like the color. You know what I think I'm having trouble with the colors themselves. Although the pink and the... Let me get rid of the green. That's kind of cool. The black is tripping me up a little bit. That's kind of interesting. Anyway, the point I was trying to show you guys is you can make your smoke very visually interesting. Yes. Yeah, you can. You can do that. That is possible. It is. All right, here we go. All right, well, let's kind of start wrapping this one up a little bit. Again, just really cool stuff. Like you have it expanding, and at the end it looks like this. This is very similar to, this is really similar to like those ink drops you have. Oh, this is like so cool looking. You know what I want to try there real quick before we hop offline here? Can you do a layer weight? I wonder, can you plug in a layer weight into a density? I'm just curious. Is it possible? Oh, it is possible. I just want to see. I'm trying to figure out what is this actually doing. You have to start working on the course. I know. Oh my gosh. I don't think anything's really happening here. At least not that I'm noticing. All right, let's go back to this. I don't even really know that this is doing anything. Is it? I don't think it is. I don't think it's doing much at all. There's a way to get I forget what you have to do. There's a way to get super crisp like lines on your smoke, or like the very crisp edges. I'm not in love. I'm not in love with this. Not in love with it. Not in love with it. It is cool though, don't get me wrong. I like the idea. I like the idea of there being like more detail than there actually is though. And that's kind of what I'm trying to go for. It's not really working the way that I would hope. That's kind of close to it. I almost want it to be like, no, I don't want it to be like transparent. Yeah, it looks cool. It does. I don't know. It's cool regardless. I am relatively happy with like at least the smoke itself, even if it's not really what we were looking for. Do cardinal? I don't know. Oh, you know what? Is it constant? Is that why it's... Oh, maybe that's why we're getting like weird results. Hold on. Let's try that. Let's do green, blue, and red. Hold on. Red, green, blue. RGB. Not in that order. There we go. Okay. And then we'll adjust the scale. Although the red still is being, it's too primary in there. Perfect. Okay, cool. Kind of cool. I don't know. Really still not what I'm looking for. Oh. Blender is always throwing me for a loop, man. I should throw yellow in there as well. Whoa. Whoa. Did you see my fish animation with the boys? I don't know if I saw it yet. I got to go through some of those assignments. I'm sorry I've been slacking on that shaded lady. I apologize. I will get back to that though. All right, either way, guys, this was a fun stream. I had fun. I loved I let me play this back one more time. I loved trying this stuff out. Whoa, my computer's really lagging with that one. I want you guys to have the greatest day ever. I'm so glad we got to stream for 2 hours today. I feel like we learned so much. Just as a recap, this was our main thing here that we were going for. And I feel like we absolutely nailed it with this. This was such a cool shader that we made together. I promise we'll do more like this. Sorry that we don't always get to do these, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. And before I go, please check out the CG Cookie Core Fundamentals. Let me show you guys this right here. This is our Core Fundamentals workflow. This is actually what Shaded Lady is working through right now. This is the core fundamentals of Blender. You can unlock the core of Blender and elevate your craft. We have several people that are working with us on this course. We have, of course, Jonathan Lampel with mesh modeling, Kent Trammell with digital sculpting, Jesse Kaizen with lighting. Iwa actually covers the materials and shading as well as texturing. We have animation with Phil, rigging with Wayne Dixon, yours truly with physics. I loved building this course out for you guys. Compositing with Sean Kennedy. So we just have some absolutely fantastic creators on here that are just creating these courses, and there's so much to learn from them. One of my favorites is the mesh modeling one. So just quick shout out to quick shout out to Jonathan. He's fantastic. And then also there is I just want to show you this. B City. I think it's called B City. Yeah, there it is. So if you want to learn more about geometry nodes, this is a fantastic course to sign up for. And then also we have something called Macro Sessions, which is also a fantastic one. This one's by Kent Trammell. This is also a fantastic course to sign up for. I personally took this one right here. Well, I took all of them, but this one really stood out to me, the Yin and Yang pencils, chapter 4. Just the amount of like shader knowledge that Kent has is astounding. So highly suggest you check this one out. There is just so much to learn. So guys, check that stuff out. If you have any questions, drop them down in the comments below. We will talk to you guys in the next live stream. Enjoy your day. Keep on blending. If you need the nodes to this, just drop a comment down below. We'll be sure to upload that file for you. And then I'll just also show the nodes one more time so you can check those out. There you go. Let me just consolidate this a little bit. There we go. Can you guys see that? Hopefully you can. These are the nodes for that exact shader right there. Absolutely fantastic shader. Love it. Completely customizable. I hope you guys enjoyed this live stream. Have a fantastic day, and I will talk to you guys in the next